Welcome back to the hardware news recap of the week. In this one, NVIDIA's RTX 50 series Super Edition GPUs may or may not exist, and if they do, may or may not be delayed, again prompting the philosophical debate of if a product is launched in a forest but it doesn't exist yet, then can it be delayed? Close enough. Also, AMD and the MI308 GPU getting one-sided approval to be sold in China, sort of. Intel, Bartlett Lake S leaks again. It's been over a year since the last ones, but this was rumored to be a P-core only, maybe so-called 15th gen CPU previously. That's kind of coming back in the news. AMD Zen 7 roadmap briefly shown. Zen 6 was on there as well. Rockstar delays GTA 6 and a couple of other news items. Before that, this video is brought to you by the Montech HSO1 and HSO2 cases. The HSO1 and HSO2 cases differ by way of a mesh front or a curved glass front. We previously reviewed these cases in our intensive benchmarking process and found them to be overall high build quality, with thermals comparable between the two designs. The rear chamber of the case uniquely brings the power supply forward and perforates the rear wall of the case, allowing for more air movement internally while providing a different look. The rear of the case uses a fan mounting mechanism for two separate fans that can be coupled together with a plate, improving convenience. The HSO1 and HSO2 also invert with minimal effort, allowing the computer to present to the opposite side without needing to reconfigure the entire build. Learn more at the links in the description below. All right, so first up, once again, holy shit, you all really came through on the AI Dystopia fundraiser for our upcoming content for the next 3 months. So thank you for that, sincerely. We blew past the goals basically instantaneously, and we're working on putting together the first couple of stories for our series of deep dive special reports coming up and some of the investigations. We have a video explaining all this if this is news to you, linked below. But to keep you all updated, we should be just getting back from our first international trip for this series. So that's already, I just booked it all as I'm filming this. We're gonna go tomorrow. And then we'll be back, by the time this goes live. So that's gonna be for the first coverage we have coming up. Next, one of the other big ones we have is a mix of a road trip around the US and flying around the US for the farther parts to cover data center expansion, which we're actually gonna talk about in this news episode briefly as well, because there are data centers that are sitting empty, where they've completed them, but they can't turn them on because, oopsies, not enough power, turns out, in the thing we call the grid. Secondly, there's data centers that are associated with increasing electricity costs for normal people because, fuck you, you're gonna pay for the expansion of the data center companies apparently, and we're looking at all that. If you live near, especially in the US, particularly in the US, if you live near one of the data center expansions where there's been costs associated with it for normal people who live nearby, there's been destruction of land that you think maybe is problematic for one reason or another. We saw someone who said there was like a dispute over land somewhere. There's a lot of data centers we need to visit. If you live near one that is particularly problematic, where it seems like the rollout has been reckless or has had no regard whatsoever for people who already live in that place, then email us at tips@gamersnexus.net. We can't reply to all of them. We have a lot already, but we need some more sources here, and we may contact you depending on kind of where we end up going and who we could use help from to potentially meet up on the ground and maybe film a segment, maybe just give us some information, point us in a direction, or just even tell us, hey, my city is dealing with this right now, and then we can kind of take it from there. So it just helps because this is happening all over the place, and the US is very large, so helping us focus where to look will be beneficial to the story. Other upcoming reports include our research into the NVIDIA and Palantir Association. We're pretty close to done with the main part of that. And as NVIDIA starts to resemble almost more of a defense contractor these days, then it's not even like a gaming company or an AI company anymore. I mean, it's kind of angling for governments here at this point. We started to build a mini application within Blender, the 3D software. It's really cool. So here's a preview. I'll loop this a couple times because we only have these 13 seconds ready to look at. So Andrew's been working on this with Ben to build an extensive map of the flow of money between different entities in the so-called AI industry, where we're creating arrows, coloring them, and most interestingly, we're even able to take CSVs of market cap per company and make each company's bubble grow and shrink with size changes. What you're looking at now isn't done. This is only an example of how it works as a tech demo. And so the data is not fully filled in yet, but you get the idea. This is stuff we're working on for the upcoming reports. So we're basically trying to represent the circular flow of money between all these companies, but also just help keep track of it because really hard. There's a lot of money moving around between these companies right now. We've been digging to put it all together. So good progress on all of that. And also, it's particularly concerning that these companies are basically propping up the entire global economy right now, or at least the American economy, but we're all kind of tied together in some way. So anyway, if you want to help us out, you can head over to store.gamersnexus.net and check out our AI Dystopia campaign. This is a multi-part series we have coming up with videos launching over at least the next 3 months. And this is funding that. If you previously bought the black market backer tiers, only about 15% of those shipments remain to be shipped, and they are going out as we speak. We also have the last few black market video stretch goals underway. With the AI Dystopia special reports, we launched our new retro IO themed drink coaster packs, which are available separately in packs of 4 distinct coasters. These include the old school case front panel with 5 1/4 bays, classic colorway gaming controller, Model M inspired keyboard numpad, and the new GN logo tier with sort of the 80s, 90s case componentry on the front of it. The Ghost tier also includes these Snowflake the Data Pirate cat doubloons we made just for fun. Andrew put these designs together with me in Blender, and we're working on making them in 4 different metal type coins, mostly because I thought they'd be fun to figure out how to use in your tabletop gaming sessions like with our dice. We're also writing USB drives for every backer tier now that we have the USB duplicator fully operational, so you can get physical media copies of some of the videos we have coming up, some of the behind the scenes bonuses as well. Anyway, thanks for all the crazy support on the campaign already. We've immediately put the funding to work on trips coming up, buying a drone, for example, and for content releasing over the next 3 months. All right, up first, AMD is talking about Zen 6 and Zen 7 a little bit. Zen 6, old news, boring, nobody cares. Zen 7's on the roadmap now, and this is because AMD just had the most important day of the year. It's the day everybody waits for it in great anticipation. It's on the calendars, it's a federal holiday. It is AMD Financial Analyst Day, that's right. People prepare for it with all kinds of festivities like cooking holiday food on the backs of their Fiji GPUs and with the second hot plate heated by an FX piledriver CPU. Okay, look, but Financial Analyst Day just happened, and it was apparently a 4-hour event. So the company spent 10 minutes talking about its client market. The vast majority was spent on something that AMD has been training for a couple years now, like some sort of Rocky montage.
AI, 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 AI.
And with that preparation in mind, in its earnings call, AMD said this.
And increasingly, you see AI everywhere as well. So that's going to be another theme of our day.
So the most noteworthy product announcement came from its Helios server rack, with each compute tray using a Zen 6 EPYC CPU, CDNA 5 Instinct GPUs, and Pensando AI NICs, with communication improved through 5th Gen Infinity Fabric with PCIe Gen 6 and SerDes. As usual, enterprise and data center tend to give us a pretty good look at what's coming to the consumer market, especially with at least AMD's CPU architectures. For the most part, that transplants pretty comparably between enterprise and desktop consumer. So that may give us a glimpse at what's coming in the future. For the announcements that we more directly care about, AMD confirmed Zen 6 for 2026 and indicated it will be used in EPYC first. AMD said that Zen 6 is, quote, the first tape out in TSMC 2 nanometer, end quote. Zen 6 will come in 2 variants, one for performance and another for efficiency, which is not abnormal, especially for enterprise deployments. AMD also showed Zen 7 on the same slide, but it didn't provide any information beyond the planned existence of Zen 7 and sometime after 2026. All we know is that it has a new matrix engine and AI data format expansion, per the slide. That is literally everything that we know about it right now. For clients and gaming, the company reported its 28% client revenue market share and stated plans to hold over 40% in the next 3 to 5 years. The company boasted AI PC growth, Phil Spencer's favorite word,
grow,
and announced new architectures with Gorgon set for 2026 and Medusa expected for 2027. Ultimately, AMD focused its announcements most on so-called AI laptops. Computing and Graphics Group Senior VP and GM Jack Hyun, who previously said that his favorite game is Ashes of the Singularity, explained the company's goals, stating,
we're infusing AI into everything we do, and we're aggressively accelerating our client and gaming with an AI-first mindset. But it doesn't stop at the endpoint.
So if you were expecting anything else from the announcements than AI, then I'm sorry. It's 4 hours of it. You can go watch it if you want more. But we have a 10-minute special report from April 1st of this year. Not a joke at all, very serious. And if you want more AI, I'd encourage you to check it out because Tim, who is editing this video, edited that one. And a couple points here. One, he is still sane, even though he had to cut down literally just the phrase AI from executives to 10 minutes of that. And secondly, the work has proven continually useful for making a point.
AI, 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 AI,
AI, AI,
AI, AI,
AI risk.
AI,
AI.
AI,
AI.
AI,
AI.
AI,
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 AI.
Okay, enough of that. We'll got to get that out of the screen. Let's move on to the next one. Before Tim he starts getting flashbacks for cutting down all the AI segments. November 6th, Rockstar Games announced something that didn't have the letters. Okay, well, it had an A in it, but it didn't have an I. They announced that GTA 6 is delayed again. So now it is deferred until November 19th of 2026. Grand Theft Auto 6's launch was originally intended for fall 2025, and then it was intended for May 26th, 2026, and now it is intended for November 19th, 2026, extended by another 6 months. This is for a game that received its first trailer in 2023, and following up GTA 5, which launched in 2013 or 2015 on PC, it'll be Rockstar's next biggest installment in its series. In its most recent announcement, the company explained, quote, "We are sorry for adding additional time to what we realize has been a long wait, but these extra months will allow us to finish the game with the level of polish you have come to expect and deserve. We want to thank you again for your patience and support. While the wait is a little longer, we're incredibly excited for players to experience the sprawling state of Leonida and a return to modern-day Vice City," end quote. Now, after this, GTA fans were rioting in the streets, so we sent a reporter to the field to ask them about how they feel about the GTA 6 delay and what they want from Rockstar Games.
God damn it, I want it. I don't give a what it is. You know what I'm talking about? I take no prisoners. I go hard doing this shit. Big dog, big nuts.
Maybe next month, huh?
Man, next month, Simeon. What about today?
He really has a way with words. The usual applies here. If they're delaying because otherwise it would be a completely broken, buggy mess, then it's better to delay than to ship something that's just completely unplayable or that sucks out of the gate. I don't remember if it's often attributed to both Gabe and to Newell and to, I think, Kojima or one of the famous game designers, but the quote of like, late is once and suck is forever or something like that. Sounds like more of a Gabe version of that quote, to be honest, but it applies here. I guess it just becomes a question of maybe Rockstar should have gotten a better handle on the status before announcing. One thing that this maybe signals to us is I wonder if this is intended to correspond with any other larger announcements, like consoles or anything like that. But anyway, completely anecdotally, it does seem like the big games from major franchises have been coming slower more recently. I personally think that some of that is the companies trying to build their games into something that's infinitely expandable, kind of like the Fortnite model, or just to go for multiple subsequent releases, like Skyrim, for example, because Elder Scrolls 6 has another example. It has been an inordinate amount of time since the last Elder Scrolls game released originally. Although if you count the re-releases, then it hasn't been that long. So up next, rumors are big news, as you all know, except rumors aren't news, they're rumors. But the good news is that hardware leaker Zed Wan responded to a rumor about a rumor on X with a rumor about NVIDIA's rumored 50 Series Super rumored launch, stating, rumoredly, quote, "No cancellation yet, just delayed. Now plans to launch 26 quarter 3, 2026, previously set to launch in 2026 quarter 1, end quote. Now, if you're wondering, wait, there's a Super Series? Then that's normal because it wasn't announced. And if you're wondering, can an unannounced product be canceled? And then can that unannounced product's unannounced cancellation be delayed? Then that's way too philosophical for this channel. Zed Wan's tweet seemed to be a response to Unico's Hardware's post from the day prior, claiming, quote, "Rumor, due to the crazy shortage recently, 3GB GDDR7 can't make it to the consumer market for desktop. Thus, the Super Series is canceled. And the current models are expected to be more expensive very soon because the increasing cost of 2GB GDDR7, end quote. Although NVIDIA hasn't officially announced a Super launch for its current series, the Super cards have mostly increased VRAM capacity over the original launches. In the current market, that would be more expensive, and this will almost definitely persist into next year. NVIDIA may rely on GDDR7 and denser 3GB modules to achieve this. NVIDIA traditionally uses super launches to get a refresh out there, get people excited about new cards again, and refresh pricing, often down or down-ish. Super series GPUs typically improve on the value proposition over those released initially, although the companies also avoided them altogether at times, depending on the generation. Considering the recent DRAM price increases and NAND increases, a delayed launch does seem probable in the least. You can check our recent look at RAM prices for more information on this, but in short, we'll show some PC part picker price trends to illustrate it. The prices have skyrocketed, as you probably know. We covered this a couple weeks ago now, and it's here. So businesses are taking up a lot of the wafers, the squeezes leftover consumer supply, and it leads to prices in some cases doubling or more now within the last couple months alone. NVIDIA will likely prioritize its denser module supply towards the workstation GPUs that aren't on HBM, whether that delays or cancels, so the Super Series launch obviously remains to be seen because it's not announced, but if they do launch, we're doubtful they'll be as competitively priced or as available as we've seen in the past. It's really going to depend, obviously, if this rumored unannounced product is rumoredly pushed back to Q3. It's pretty close to a year from now, obviously. I mean, with production and everything, it's comes in a little sooner than that, but maybe that's enough time for something to improve. The RAM situation is really unbelievably bad right now. So over the years, I've covered the ups and downs in it. We've kind of talked about this, but I remember making jokes a couple of years ago at the old studio, actually, about how it would have been like a better investment to buy memory or something than basically any other investment at one point. So this has happened before, but not like this. This is like actually a lot worse because the whole quote unquote AI demand is genuinely just unseen like this, and they need to continue to prop up the value of the companies because otherwise the entire fucking economy will collapse. So anyway, up next, AMD sued for patent infringement. A semiconductor IP licensing company has filed multiple lawsuits against AMD over patents. These allege that AMD violated 7 of its patents covering hybrid bonding technology and also 3 covering advanced process node technology. A lot of this relates to the X3D products. The complaint submitted on November 3rd in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Texas specifically points out AMD's 3D V-cache as an infringement due to its use of hybrid bonding stacked dies to connect the processor and memory cores. Now, of course, the patent claims were filed by the very famous and real CPU company that has actual products on the market that you can buy and aren't just patents that have been filed with the USPTO, and we all know the name of this company, of course. I just need to check because we all know the name. Adea. Well, we know the name. You don't need me to tell you, of course, because we talk about their CPUs all the time, and this isn't trolling. We're going to go with Adea, I guess, claims that its predecessor, Ziptronics, which of course we also all know for their famous X3D CPUs, pioneered, quote, the development of innovative low-temperature bonding techniques for semiconductor chips, end quote, and asserts that Ziptronics' lead innovators are, quote, recognized, I'm going to go with presumably by people somewhere, quote, as the earliest inventors of direct and hybrid bonding, end quote, citing U.S. patent 6902987 filed in 2000. Adea CEO Paul Davis explained, quote, for years, AMD's products have incorporated and made extensive use of Adea's patented semiconductor innovations, which have greatly contributed to their success as a market leader. After prolonged efforts to reach a mutually agreeable resolution without litigation, we believe this step was necessary to defend our intellectual property from AMD's continued unauthorized use, end quote. Now, Adea seeks monetary compensation as well as injunctions, which would prohibit AMD from further infringement, meaning not making more of them, likely through AMD acquiring a license. Now, the expected responses here would be for AMD to, if it argue that this is too broad, argue that there's prior art if there is, argue that it's unrelated, argue that they were granted their own patents covering their technology as it was applied, or TSMC's in the case where TSMC also has patents on this associated with the SOIC process. It's also possible the case gets resolved with a settlement before any kind of trial. It seems very unlikely this goes to trial, similar to how NVIDIA handled Adea's similar IP infringement allegations in 2023. Currently, we wouldn't expect the case to impact AMD's production or distribution in any capacity whatsoever. If through some miracle this gets taken to trial, it would probably be extremely drawn out. There'd be a lot of experts expert testimony and wide-reaching implications for IP usage in semiconductors, but there's really just almost zero chance this goes to trial based on historical records. But maybe Adia, in between their many CPU launches that keep them so busy, will see this and they'll be like, just because he said that, we're going to take it to trial, just so Steve's wrong. maybe that'll happen. I'm sure it's way up there on their radar, along with their name on my radar. In any case, we'll be sure to keep you updated as developments unfold, if they do. A lot of times the stuff is like, the matter was concluded to the mutual agreement of both parties, and that's all they say. So we'll see. I really don't expect this to do much of anything as far as the consumer market's concerned or impact production. So probably no real impact for the rest of us. All right, up next, on October 30th, the FBI subpoenaed domain registrar 2cows.com, compelling the company to divulge the, quote, subscriber information on customer behind archive.today, end quote. Now these archive sites, if you don't know, they're different from archive.org, so that's a totally different group entirely. The other archive sites that are kind of linked to this are sites that are able to grab and archive paywalled written content where you might need to pay whatever, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, whoever it may be, in order to actually read important information that everybody should have access to. And so these are getting subpoenaed because, obviously. As seen in the legal document posted by archive.today via Twitter, the FBI ordered 2cows, which is again the registrar, to disclose the customer's name, address of service, telephone records, phone number, payment information, and records of session times and duration for internet connectivity, among other pieces of information. The document reads, yikes, wow, that is a lot of capital letters. All right, I'll do my best. Quote, the information sought through this subpoena relates to a federal criminal investigation being conducted by the FBI, end quote. And it also says, quote, your company is required to furnish this information, end quote, along with a communication deadline of November 29th, 2025. As you all know, we take reporting on this sort of thing very seriously, which is why I try to get the inflection right to reflect their level of capitalization. A 2cows spokesperson, again, who's not the party that's actually in trouble here, but is the registrar for them, commented to 404 Media stating, quote, when served with valid due process, like any business, 2cows complies. Please note, however, that we are unable to comment or share any further information, especially regarding potential ongoing or active investigations, end quote. The News Media Alliance took down 12foot.io, a page similar to archive.today and its mirrors earlier this year, stating, quote, the 12-foot ladder website offered illegal circumvention technology that stripped paywalls, allowing users of the technology to access otherwise restricted copyright-protected content without paying the required fee. Following the News Media Alliance's efforts, the web host promptly locked 12foot.io on Monday, July 14th, end quote. I just want to really quickly point something out here. Just as a reminder, Meta was recently found to be under fair use for literally pirating books, things that are sold for money as a physical book. They pirated them and internally discussed knowing they were pirating them and said that they shouldn't pirate them, and even said that Meta was crossing their threshold for what's acceptable. And that was okay. But if you, normal person, want to, not trillion-dollar company, not Mark Zuckerberg, if you want to access important information and news reporting that you otherwise don't have access to, then that's not okay. We're going to make sure none of those websites exist, so you cannot do that. Instead, they'd point you towards using a nice trillion-dollar company service like maybe Meta AI to shake the copyrighted content out of because they're under fair use to steal it. But you're not allowed to read it directly on your own. Nope, that's not okay. No conflicts here at all. Everything completely makes sense, and it is all aligned in its ideology. So if you want to see me rant more about how copyright is for trillion-dollar companies only, you can head over to our GNCA channel where we ranted about that with a lot of details. Anyway, while not explicitly stated, we imagine the FBI intends to pursue similar legal action to what happened with 12-foot ladder against archive.today. And the all caps are pretty scary. Whether they can actually get to the archive people is a different matter. You get kind of back into that Pirate Bay era documentary about how the biggest difficulty was tracking people down who ran these things and literally having any power over them whatsoever. So that's kind of the part that remains to be seen. But let's move on to the next one. Another one of the leaks that was in the leak and rumor mill in the past week was Intel's Bartlett Lake S CPUs. There's really not much here. Found via OC3D.net at JKin0 on Twitter leaked the alleged specs of Intel's Bartlett Lake S CPU, supposedly the company's last LGA 1700 processor series. The leak indicates that the locked CPU will feature 12 Raptor Cove P cores, 0 E cores, a 125-watt TDP, 6 GHz single-threaded clock, 5.5 GHz all-core multi-threaded clock, and a 3.4 GHz base clock. The current leaks and rumors suggest that it's intended for edge applications and networking and things of that nature, edge workstations, but it will likely draw attention from the gaming side because one, LGA 1700, compatibility in the absence of E-cores, and then two, the absence of E-cores. So being P-core only on a prior socket motherboard may be beneficial. Obviously, we need to test the performance, and if it comes out, we will. But it looks like this is the one that was previously rumored to be a so-called 15th gen that first was discussed back in January of 2024, if I remember correctly. Next one, in AMD's Q3 earnings call, CEO Lisa Su confirmed the MI308 export license, saying this.
Look, it's still a pretty dynamic situation with MI308. So that's the reason that we did not include any MI308 revenue in the Q4 guide. We have received some licenses for MI308, so we're appreciative of the administration supporting some licenses for MI308. We're still working with our customers on the demand environment and sort of what the overall opportunity is.
Despite the U.S. lifting its ban on this specific GPU alongside the H20, to our knowledge, NVIDIA still hasn't been granted a license approving the export of its H20 GPUs to China, although it was offered in exchange for 15%. Unfortunately, this isn't as significant for AMD as the company might have hoped. The day after AMD's earnings call, the Chinese government allegedly, quote, issued guidance requiring new data center projects that have received any state funds to only use domestically made artificial intelligence chips, end quote, as reported by Reuters. Jensen Huang seemingly confirmed this on November 7th, stating, quote, currently we are not planning to ship anything to China. It's up to China when they would like NVIDIA products to go back to serve the Chinese market. I look forward to them changing their policy, end quote. An export license is obviously only as useful as the ability to use it, and if the other side of that export, the importer, isn't going to take the components, then that's not that useful. This was, as reported by Reuters, specific to data centers that have state funding in China. So in theory, random, so to speak, private companies that don't have any state funding, as we understand this, reading that quote, should be able to buy the devices. Now, that said, the Chinese government, they have I think it's like a cybersecurity administration that we've reported on in the past, has advised certain companies to not buy high-end NVIDIA chips, and presumably AMD, if they're desirable at least. So kind of still up in the air. We have a really deep dive on the GPU export control story coming up. Probably on this channel, might run GNCA, but that's coming up if you want to learn all about that following our previous black market AI GPU reporting video. So, all right, up next, a recent write-up by our biggest fans. Let me just get the name right. Gonna go with Bloomberg. You know what? I think it's just better I don't even try to say it because I don't want to offend them and say it wrong and get financial terminal and maybe news agency, so-called Bloom, so-called Burke, was re-reported on by Tom's Hardware, re-reporting on some information from 2 data centers. We thought the reporting circle would be fitting for the AI one. The reporting on the report shows that newly completed data centers are currently devoid of hardware due to a lack of power availability. Known to tech companies and municipalities as oopsie daisies, and known to everybody who lives there as an increase in your electricity prices eventually. Tom's reports that Bloomberg reports that 2 different data centers, one by Digital Realty and one by Stack Infrastructure, report that they're pending about 96 megawatts of capacity. And public utilities are attempting to increase power availability to enable the data centers to actually be turned on. Grid upfit won't be complete in some cases until 2028, meaning that these data centers could sit effectively empty and functionless for years. Now, they could power on parts of these things over time depending on the grid upfit and rollout, but that's after taking all the money to build them, clearing and bulldozing whatever was in their wake, and taking land off the market for other projects that may be more immediately economically productive for those regions, or just less environmentally destructive. Instead, we get some nice new empty buildings to keep inflating the AI bubble by making promises yet to be fulfilled, seemingly a microcosm for AI's promises in general. The data center companies are trying to begin powering on the facilities with grid upfit potentially in pieces. And this is just a small part of what's probably to come, and that's before we even get to the bursting of the bubble and the seemingly bad economic situation that's going to come after that. But surely everyone will continue to invest hundreds of billions of dollars, in some cases like $1 trillion, into these AI data center rollouts if everything goes to shit. Surely that is exactly what they will definitely keep doing, and it won't just create a House of Cards effect. Up last, for something fun, SilverStone has launched its FLP02 case previously, but now there's a new one. An FLP03 Micro ATX case, and this was shown at Expo 2025 in Japan. The FLP03 was photographed at the Expo and shown and talked about on Twitter by HitoHero7265. The case is sort of a mirror of the FLP02 in many ways, just smaller. It still has the power button toggle switch and accompanying key lock, and the large reset button. The turbo button can adjust fan speed and is still present. The MATX version of the case looks to have alternate 5¼ bay covers that follow the grill pattern, although judging by the scraps on the table, the original faux floppy covers appear to be still available. Internally, the case has support for up to 3 5¼ bays. The spec sheet shows support for a single 180mm front fan, up to 3x120 or 2x140 top fans, and radiator support up to 3 60mm top mounted if occupying the top 5¼ bay as well. The case has listed dimensions of 220 by 456 by 477 millimeters and supports GPUs up to 412 millimeters in length. All right, so that's it for hardware news this week. We have a ton of stuff coming up, obviously. I mean, the travel is, that's happening right now, and it'll take a little bit to put all those pieces together, but we do have the first video almost fully edited. It's a non-travel video. Travel one should be coming in the next couple weeks for this series of stories we're doing. And I mean, based on this empty data center story, it sounds like there's going to be plenty to talk about, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So the data center part of this, I'm expecting we'll do a lot of that road tripping in probably December, but we'll kind of see how the timing works out. So anyway, we've got a lot to do. Looking forward to it. Check back for more as always. It's going to go on the 2 different channels, so it'll go here and GNCA depending on which topic we're covering and kind of where it fits best. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersnexus.net to support us directly, or patreon.com/gamersnexus. And you should check out the RAM prices video if you haven't seen it, because, well, you know what, maybe you should watch the Steam Machine video instead. It's a little bit, it feels a little bit better. It's got engineering discussions. It's nice. It's like a nice break from the mess that the tech companies have created otherwise. So, all right, see you all next time.